Hey guys, how's it going? This is my 1971 John Deere 110. I got this off my brother a couple years ago. We've done some work to it in the past, but it really hasn't, well, I want to say I really haven't done a whole lot to it, but I've done quite a bit to it at the same time. Previously on the channel, it has had an ignition problem ever since the time that I've had it. Well, even when he had it. It has a solid state ignition in it. The problem with that ignition is when you go over a bump, it acts up, it'll cut spark and then it'll come back later. The key switch on it needs to be replaced. You have to start it with a button because when you turn the key switch over to the start circuit, it does not crank because I don't know, I guess something inside the key switch is bad, but it does run still. And I'm thinking that might have something to do with what kills it. I'm not 100% sure, being that something inside that switch is probably broken. And also the starter on it sometimes doesn't engage with the teeth and chews up stuff. It needs a new flywheel. So I've decided we're going to go on ahead and we're going to put some work into this thing. I want to convert it over to an electronic ignition, and I thought that'd be a pretty cool video to make and show you guys how to do that. This is on a Kohler K181. This is basically the same setup on a Kohler K241, 301, 321 and 341, I believe, all except for on the, do I have a block around here somewhere from one, or one I can easily get to? On the K301, such as this one right here, as well as the K321 and the other K series of the bigger ones than the 8 horses, you would have to pop out a plug that they stuck in the points cover, or in the points hole. You just pop that little rubber plug out. I think you just send it inside of the engine. Then you can put a points push rod in there. That'll open and close your points. Put a coil, put a condenser, put a coil, and then swap out your key switch, and you should be good to go on that. That's what you do on the bigger ones. On the smaller ones, these Magnetos already have points coming out of the block. So, and the Magneto on this is underneath of the flywheel, so if your stator is no good, you can take your Magneto and change it out. However, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to swap out the flywheel. I'm going to leave the Magneto under the flywheel. I'm just going to cut the spark plug wire off because I really don't need it anymore. So that's my plan. So, and then I also have another engine. This one's got a Magneto on it too. We are going to be taking this engine and taking the flywheel off of it. And the starter, they're going to be going on to the other engine. So there you go. This is one that I rebuilt a few years ago, or not even well, was it a year ago? I don't even remember. No, it has been a year because that came off that 110 I traded for that 317 with Curtis. Yeah. Okay, I know where it came from then. This came off a 110 that I had. I rebuilt this engine. It had a blown rod when I got it. I have not been able to run this engine because the ignition on it's bad. So that's the story behind this one. So it's been sitting upstairs ever since I rebuilt it, and I haven't really gotten around to running it yet. So it's been sitting around here for about a year. I don't want to say it's basically a new block, but it's got a new piston in it, new rings, new rods. So there you go. Let's go on ahead and pop the shrouds off of it, and we'll throw them over on that engine. Or not the shrouds. We'll get the flywheel and starter off of this engine. We'll put them on that engine. So yeah, here we go. So let's see about getting this cover off. It should just be 2 7/16 on the bottom, because that one's not there, and the one over here is. I want this to go that way. I thought I heard that vibrate. Let's see, who messaged me? So then we'll take this off. That bolt right there. And this bolt right here. That is one nice thing about these is the bolts on it are on the side where you can get to them, where on the bigger engine blocks, these recess down into the frame of the tractor. and the bolt holes are down here, so you have to take the engine out in order to get to them, which kind of sucks. Flywheel, as you can see, here's the teeth on it. Take note of that and how good those look. And then let me swap my thing out real quick. These should be 5/15/16s, I guess. Cool. Let's get this. Let's get this guy off of here. I was going to say it should come off there pretty simple. Maybe. There we go. Is it going to come off easy? No. I didn't figure it would. Look at that. That came off. Cool. Used to use a nylon mallet, or I know, used to use a brass mallet to do this stuff. Using this thing's a lot easier, but I gotta do some improvements to it. It does pretty good though. As you guys saw, it took that flywheel off pretty quick. I'm sure if you've been around this channel for a while, you've probably seen me do that with the mallet and the crowbar. It worked, but man, it was just a pain in the ass. So there's that Magneto. For those of you wondering what that looks like, that's the Magneto right there. And it sends power up through this cord to the spark plug wire. The assembly we needed was the flywheel. The flywheel's off of it. So we're pretty much done here. So now we got to take the starter off, which that should be just 9/16. There's two. So now we just do the same thing over there on that tractor. Flip them around. And that should work for now. But I still want to change the ignition system over to the one that I want. And I also want to test that starter real fast to make sure that everything with that works good. So yeah, there you go. So here's a little bit of an update on this 110. I got that starter and flywheel swapped out. I just went ahead and did them off camera since we watched doing it over here on this engine. Here is the flywheel that came off of that engine and also the starter over there. I will show you guys exactly what I found on that flywheel. If you heard the starter grinding, you can see why. It doesn't look too bad, but once you get right around here, you can see exactly why it was grinding so bad. So I'm guessing that was the problem right there. So that's what I'm thinking it is. And then I guess one other thing I'd point out too is that looks like the wrong gear, but I could be wrong. So I don't know. So let's go on ahead and let's see if this 110 will start. Now, since we have that flywheel changed out and also that starter, maybe it'll sound better too. Ready? I think that ignition still has problems, but it does sound a lot better now with that being fixed. It almost sounded like to me the starter might need to come apart. I should have pulled that apart when I took it off that engine over there and went through it and did the brushes. So that's one thing I should have done, but I mean, it works. Yeah, hear that? That's what that was. That's the brushes. Or that's it needing cleaned out. Let's give it a little throttle. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. So yeah, there you go. So So I would say now the next thing we want to do is we want to go in there and get that ignition system changed out. So I got to get that hood taken off and I got to pull a few things out of it. I might just time lapse that, or I might just leave that out of the video, because I've taken hoods off these things and I've taken battery trays out of them before. So we'll just probably do that off camera, and then we'll get into it and we'll do the fix, and then we'll put, well, I might film it. I don't know. We'll see. So let's see about getting this coil put on here. I got the new coil. We're gonna go on ahead and get that installed on this engine. I was looking for a good place to mount the coil, and I think I found one. I think we're gonna pull this engine bolt out right here for the oil pan, and we're just gonna, I have a little mount, we're just gonna mount the, what the hell? We're gonna mount, there we go, the coil to this bolt. That's not getting caught underneath something, is it? Is that getting caught under the block? Okay, well, never mind. Maybe we'll just leave that one alone. Yeah, I think we're getting stuck on the bolt, so I gotta find another spot. Yeah, oh well. Let me find a better spot. So I found a spot to mount that coil, and it seems like it's in a pretty good spot. I don't think it hits the gas tank at all, so we should be good with it where it is. So now we gotta take the wire out of here. This wire is the one that goes to the ignition, and it goes through this little pigtail and out in there. So we want to, I'm considering taking this and cutting it back, or just plumbing into here, or just removing this, having these two wires plug into there where they go, and then going in here. If I was to cut this back, let me do some experimenting real fast. So let's see about just carefully cutting this little cover back. The goal is to not cut through the wires, and also to not, I just moved my camera, and also to not have to put any crimps on here, except for one that goes to the coil. That's the only thing. And more than likely, after I'm done doing this, we'll take this back up. I doubt it, but I wonder if this has asbestos in it. I'm disturbing asbestos. I would use a knife on this, but I don't want to cut through any wires or anything. That's kind of where I'm at. There we go. I would say that might be back far enough. I might want to go back just a little more. That might be okay. And then it's this wire up here on top is the one that we want to cut. Yeah, I'm just gonna go on ahead and cut that. Now that doesn't go anywhere, so I'm not worried about it at the moment. All this is a ground. It goes to there and just brings ground back to that and grounds it out. I'm not one bit worried about that wire that I just cut off. However, this end plugs into this end, and then that end right there goes on here. And that is how this system works. And I'm gonna take said pliers and I'm gonna, if I can, try to marry these two together because they don't want to go together very well. think yeah, they just shifted. Try again, shall we? Trying to stay out of the way of the camera as best I can. I don't know if the charging system on this tractor works or not. I assume it does. I believe I've been into it before and I've fixed it. Just trying to get this up here. There we go. I think I've got them together. And we snag off this little bit. Actually, yeah, that works. Maybe I should have used a smaller one of these, but that works. And then there's a nut on here. You just thread that nut off. And then once you thread that nut off, you take this tab off, and then once you take that tab off, you put that on, and then you put that nut back on, and the little washer, and you're good to go. Power from the key switch to the coil goes on the positive side. Power going to the points and condenser goes on the negative side of the coil. For those of you who did not know and are wondering, that is how that works. I'll just stick that on like so. It will be nice to finally have this switched over so I can use it again. I was able to use it before, but it would just give me all kinds of problems with that ignition that it had. So there we go, that's done and dealt with. Now we take this tab down here on bottom off. And then I gotta run a wire up from the points to the coil, which that's not hard, and I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna do that off camera, and then I'll bring you guys back after I get the wire run up to the coil. Like I said before, the wire that goes to the coil from the points goes to the negative side. So I got that coil all wired in. Now we gotta do the key switch. I'm going off of the idea that everything in the wiring harness should be the same setup as the key switch that I took out. I'm gonna have to run a wire to the solenoid from the start terminal, but as far as I know, that's the only thing I'm gonna have to do. So we'll plug that in. But I believe it should be about the exact same. I wouldn't think that they would make a bunch of different wiring harnesses for different ignitions, but I guess you never know. The only difference, like I said before, I can think of is the kill wire right there that went to the mag in order to kill it. That's about the only difference that I can think of in these two. I wouldn't think there's much else other than just that. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure it out. I want this not to be sideways. I want it mounted like that, right there. There we go. Cool. So let's come over here. Pretend we didn't see it. No, we're gonna tighten that. I'll have to grab a wrench. Let's jump in here. Is that actually? Yeah, it is the right size. Imagine that. I was thinking that would be too big, but well, apparently not. Just the right size. Cool. That's hooked up. Now we got to put the battery tray back in. Do we want to put the battery tray back in, or do we just want to make sure it'll start? Well, it won't start if there's no fuel tank in it, so I guess we'll have to put the, yeah, we got to put the battery tray and everything back. So let me get that put back in. And once I do that, I will bring you back. So let's try this. I got that battery and battery tray back in there. I just want to crank the key and see if that engine turns over. Ready? No. I'm thinking it might be that solenoid. That or... Let me check that real quick. I had a funny feeling that solenoid was not great. So I did some messing with it, and I think I found the problem. The pigtail that was in there originally that held all the wires together, I guess the ends of it are just all corroded. I got into it and was looking at it close. You can see it's pretty rough, and up here it's missing that one. It's there, but it's not there. So I stuck some crimps on there, and I stuck that on there. I just wired it up myself. So hopefully, when I go, oh, I see the voltmeter move. That's cool. Let's see if it cranks. All right, well, that's a good thing. That's a good sign right there. So that means we got that problem took care of. So I guess now we'll go on ahead and put the battery tray in it, and once I get the battery tray in it, we'll go from there. So I got this 110 all put back together. The battery and everything is back in it. So I guess let's go on ahead and see if this thing will run. I haven't played with it yet. I haven't messed with it yet. This will be, I guess, yeah, the first time running with this new ignition system. We cranked it over earlier and it cranked. So hopefully it should start. Well, that started, I was going to say, that started a lot easier than it used to. It might be cold. That's probably why it stalled. Because I didn't have to fight with it in order to keep it running, which is nice. So, oh, I already talked about that. Never mind. So I guess let's see how it throttles. If it throttles up good or not. That's a major improvement. I will say that. It would not go like that before. So that's, and keep in mind, that still has the original points and condenser on it. I didn't change those. I should have, but I didn't. So let me get that round fender moved out of the way. And once that round fender is moved out of the way, we'll take this out and take it down the test strip and see how it does. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. I want to thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If it's your first time checking out the channel, please consider going down below, hitting that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing. It tells YouTube that you guys like the videos and want to see more. It also tells myself that you guys like the videos and want to see more. Hopefully you learned something from this. Taking this 110 and converting it over from a Magneto ignition to a 12-volt coil ignition. To be honest with you, I think this is the better setup. Because as you guys saw, it seemed like it ran a lot better this way than it did before. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I don't got to worry about that Magneto going out on me at some point in time and ended up having to pull that flywheel off and replace it. I can just take the coil and change out it if I ever need to. Doubt I will, but you never know. All right, guys, take care.